Chapter 12. Directing your attention. The old fisherman had lived by the sea for more than 60 years. Every morning, long before the first hint of sunlight painted the horizon, he pushed his small wooden boat away from the shore. The young fishermen always laughed when they saw him, while they rushed toward the open water, eager to cast their nets before anyone else. The old man seemed to do almost nothing. He simply sat, sometimes for 15 minutes, sometimes for nearly an hour. He watched the sea if it were speaking to him. One morning, a young fisherman could no longer contain his curiosity. He rowed his boat alongside the old man and asked, "What are you waiting for? The fish won't jump into your boat." The old fisherman smiled and kept his eyes on the water. "I'm not waiting for the fish." The young man laughed. "Then what are you watching?" "The current." The younger fisherman looked around. The water seemed the same in every direction. "It all looks the same to me." The old man dipped his hand into the sea. "It looks the same only to people who are in a hurry." The young fisherman shrugged his shoulders and rowed away. He threw his net here, then there, then somewhere further away. Every few minutes he changed direction, convinced that the fish must be better somewhere else. The old fisherman remained still. When the sun finally climbed above the horizon, he cast his net only once. By noon, the younger fisherman returned exhausted. His boat held only a handful of fish. The old man's boat was nearly full. As they reached the shore, the young man asked the question that had been bothering him all morning. "How did you know where to throw your net?" The old fisherman looked toward the endless ocean before answering. "The sea tells you everything, but I didn't hear anything." "Because you were watching the fish." "I was watching the water. For many years, I thought success belonged to those who move the fastest. Work harder, do more, say yes more often, help more people, take every opportunity, never miss a chance." It sounded like a good advice, and for a while it worked, at least from the outside. People admire busy people. The calendar filled up, the telephone rang constantly. There are always another project waiting, another meeting, another invitation, another problem someone hoped I could solve. I believe I was becoming successful. Looking back now, I wonder if I was simply becoming available. There is a difference. One earns respect, the other quietly gives it away. Growing up in a family of 12 children, I learned something long before I understood its meaning. Money was scarce, shoes were passed from one child to another, clothes were carefully folded and saved for younger brothers and sisters. Nothing was wasted. If a bowl of soup remained, someone else would gladly finish it. Scarcity was simply part of life, but there was another kind of scarcity that none of us recognized: our parents' attention. How could two people possibly give equal attention to 12 growing children? It was impossible. Without realizing it, each of us found our way of being noticed. One sibling became the responsible one, another became the funny one, someone else excelled in the school, another became unusually quiet. Looking back, I don't think any of us were competing for love. Our parents loved every one of us. We were competing for moments, a smile from mother, a conversation with father, a word of encouragement, a gentle hand on the shoulder. Children do not measure love with logic, they measure it with attention. Years later, I realized adults are not much different. We all long to be seen. As my life became busier, something curious began to happen. People assumed I was always available. If the phone rang, I answered. If someone needed help, I came. If another responsibility appeared, I somehow made room for it. At first, people appreciated, then they expected. Eventually, they depended on it. One day, a friend called while I was eating dinner with my family. When I didn't answer immediately, she left a message. I've been trying to reach you for almost an hour. There was disappointment in her voice, as if I had broken an unspoken promise. An hour. I remember staring at the phone and wondering, when did 1 hour become too long to wait? Nothing had changed except one thing. I had trained people to believe I was always available. That evening, I began to thinking about something I had read months ago. Niccolo Machiavelli observed the behavior of kings, princes, generals, and ordinary people. Although many remember him for his politics, what fascinated me most was how carefully he studied human nature. He noticed that people often value what is limited, not because it is expensive, but because it cannot be endlessly possessed. A ruler who tried to satisfy everyone eventually satisfied no one. A prince who answered every complaint soon had no time left to govern. Power, he suggested, does not come from being everywhere. It comes from knowing where to be. His words stay with me, though I understand them differently than he probably intended. I was not trying to rule a kingdom. I was trying to protect my life. One spring morning, I walked to my backyard carrying a cup of coffee. The epiphyliums were beginning to bloom. After months of quiet growth, each flower opened for one only a short time. Some blossoms lasted a single night, but the next afternoon their magnificent petals had already begun to fade. Perhaps that is why I treasure them so deeply. They never try to bloom every day of the year. They wait patiently, silently. When their moment arrives, they offer everything they have. Then they rest again. Nature has never confused constant activity with purpose. Only human beings seem to believe that always being available is somehow a virtue. The flowers never apologize for closing. The season never apologize for changing. Even the ocean has tides. Everything in creation understands rhythm. Everything except us, human. The world, however, has forgotten the rhythm of nature. Several months ago, I was sitting at the airport waiting for my flight. Around me were hundreds of people, but the terminal was strangely quiet. It was not the peaceful silence of the library or a church. It was a different kind of silence. Every head was bent toward a small glowing screen. A young couple sat together without speaking. A father pushed a stroller while answering emails. An elderly man watched one video after another. Even a little girl, perhaps no older than 5, held a tablet in both hands while cartoons danced across the screen. No one appeared unhappy, but very few seemed truly present. I wonder what would happen if electricity suddenly disappeared. Would anyone know how to wait anymore? Would anyone notice the mountains outside the enormous glass windows? Would anyone hear the laughter of the little boy chasing pigeons near the entrance? Or had our attention become so accustomed to being borrowed that we no longer knew how to keep it for ourselves? I thought back to my childhood in Dalat. We had no smartphones, no internet, no endless stream of news waiting to interrupt every quiet moment. When the rain fell against the roof, we listened to it. When father told stories after dinner, we listened to him. When mother called us in the kitchen, we came running because that voice mattered. There were fewer distractions, but somehow there was more life. Perhaps we own fewer things because fewer things own us. Years later, after moving to America, I discovered that abundance can become another kind of poverty. There are thousands of television channels, millions of books, billions of websites, infinite opinions, endless notifications. The modern world does not ask for your money first, it asks for your attention. Money can be earned again, attention cannot. A wasted dollar may return, a wasted afternoon never does. I once read that in ancient times, armies rarely attacked the kingdom's strongest walls. Instead, they searched for the weakest gate. That image stayed with me. Our minds are kingdoms too. Every day, countless voices stand outside the gate. Some knock politely, others force their way inside. Advertisements promise happiness. News headlines promise urgency. Arguments demand an opinion. Social media whispers that everyone else's life is somehow more exciting than your own. If we open the gate to every visitor, before long, we no longer recognize the kingdom we are supposed to govern. It belongs to everyone except ourselves. Carl Jung wrote that until we become conscious of what is happening within us, our unconscious will direct our lives, and we call it fate. For many years, I misunderstood those words. I thought Jung was talking about hidden memories or childhood wounds. Now I think he was also talking about attention. Whatever repeated enters the mind quietly becomes part of us. If we feed our minds with resentment every day, resentment eventually becomes our personality. If we constantly compare ourselves with others, comparison becomes the lens through which we see the world. If we spend years chasing every distraction, one day we wake up wondering why our lives feel scattered. Nothing mysterious happened. Our attention simply built the house in which we now live, brick by brick, day after day, almost unnoticed. One afternoon, my oldest grandson came to the garden while I was watering the flowers. He was chasing one beautiful yellow butterfly. Every time he thought he was close enough to catch it, another butterfly fluttered across his path. Immediately, he changed direction, then another, then another. After nearly 20 minutes, he was tired. He had not caught a single butterfly. I smiled because I realized I had spent years living exactly the same way. One opportunity, then another, one project, another invitation, another responsibility, another distraction, always moving, rarely arriving. While my grandson rested beneath the shade tree, the honeybee landed on one plume. It ignored every other flower around it. It gathered what it needed, then flew directly to the next blossom. No hurry, no confusion, no wasted movement. Nature has always understood something that human beings keep forgetting. Focus fits life. Distraction consumes it. Not long after that afternoon, I made one small decision. It seemed almost insignificant, but for the first hour every morning, the world would have to wait. No phone, no email, no news, no social media, only silence, a cup of coffee, prayer, a few pages of a good book. Sometimes I simply sat in the backyard watching the morning light touch the flowers. At first it felt uncomfortable, almost irresponsible. Somewhere I imagined messages were waiting. Someone might need an answer. Something important might happen. But after a few weeks, I noticed something unexpected. Very little had changed. The world continued turning without me. Most messages could wait. Most problems solved themselves. Most emergencies were never emergencies at all. The only thing that truly changed was me. For the first time in many years, I no longer began each day inside someone else's priority. I returned to my own. And that simple change quietly changed everything. I finally understood what the old fisherman had known all along. The secret was never catching more fish. The secret was learning where to cast the net. So it is with our lives. We cannot give our attention to everything, nor should we try. A life scattered with 100 directions eventually loses the strength to move deeply in any direction at all. Perhaps wisdom is not learning to do more. Perhaps wisdom is learning what deserves the privilege of our attention. Because in the end, our lives are simply the stories of what we chose to notice, and what we notice we eventually become. Years later, I began to understand that attention is not only about what we avoid, it is also about what we choose to protect. For a long time, I thought my dreams would always have to wait. There were responsibilities, family to raise, children who needed me, a home to care for, a business to build, people who depended on me. Like many women, I became very good at giving my time, giving my energy, giving my attention. And there is something beautiful about giving. Love itself is a form of giving. But one day I realized something important. A candle that gives light to everyone else must still protect its own flame. If the flame disappears, there is no more light to give. I think about that old fisherman again. The younger fisherman believed success came from throwing the net everywhere. The old fisherman understood that success came from knowing where to throw it. That lesson applies to everything. Our time, our relationship, our dreams, our energy. Every yes is the net we cast. Every commitment is the place where our attention will flow. The question is not whether we have enough time, Everyone receives the same 24 hours. The deeper question is, where are we allowing our life to be spent? Because if we do not decide where our attention goes, someone else will decide for us. The world is always ready to give us thousand things to look at, but only we can decide what is worthy of our vision. When I look back in my life, I realize my greatest achievement did not come from doing everything. It came from choosing something and staying with it. Writing books did not happen because I had unlimited time. It happened because I protected small moments, a quiet morning, a blank page, a thought that needed to be written, a memory that deserved to be preserved. Some small moments became chapters. Those chapters became books. Those books became a legacy. And that is the power of attention. A single drop of water seems insignificant, but drop by drop it can cave through stone. A single page seems small, but page by page it can carry a lifetime of wisdom. Perhaps the greatest question we should ask ourselves each morning is not, what do I need to accomplish today? Perhaps the deeper question is, what deserves my attention today? Because attention is more than focus, it is love. Whatever receives our attention receive a piece of our life. If we give our attention to fear, fear grows. But if we give our attention to gratitude, wisdom, creativity, family, and purpose, those things grow too. Our attention is the invisible hand shaping our destiny. Guard it carefully, choose it wisely, because where attention goes, our life follows. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy it. Please look for the next chapter.